The 8-Bit Arcade Glitch, Part 1/3. The rust bucket didn't just travel. It tumbled through the fabric of reality with a metallic shriek. Inside the cockpit of the steampunk bus, Emily gripped her leather seat, her yellow hoodie a bright spark against the dark brass interior. Her braids whipped around her face as the floor tilted sharply. Beside her, the inventor wrestled with the giant, gear-driven steering wheel. His blue, cybernetic eye whirred frantically, casting a sapphire glow over his rugged features as he calculated their chaotic trajectory through a vortex of neon sparks and grinding gears. With a bone-jarring thud that rattled every bolt in the chassis, the bus slammed into a solid surface. Bingo, the massive Newfoundland, braced her heavy frame against the floorboards to keep from sliding. She let out a low huff of breath, her mechanical front leg whining as the hydraulics locked into place for stability. Her glowing red eyepiece pulsed in the shadows, scanning the dark environment outside the bus windows for any sign of movement. Emily pushed open the heavy brass door and stepped out, the air smelling of ozone and heated plastic. She gasped, her eyes traveling up and up. They weren't in a field or a city. They were inside a warehouse of impossible proportions. Towering stacks of forgotten arcade cabinets rose like jagged skyscrapers toward a ceiling hidden by a haze of gray static. Bingo trotted to her side, her tail wagging tentatively as she sniffed the corner of a nearby machine that hummed with a faint ghostly light. The inventor stepped down the bus stairs, his heavy tool belt clinking with a rhythmic metallic sound. He tapped the side of his head, adjusting the focus of his blue eye as he surveyed the rows of cabinets. "This doesn't match any coordinate on my maps," he muttered, reaching for a brass wrench. He stopped mid-motion when he noticed the air in front of him shivering. A small, floating box made of vibrant green pixels drifted past his nose, flickering like a digital firefly. "Dad, look! The floor is disappearing!" Emily shouted, pointing toward the path ahead. The inventor hurried to her side, his boots echoing on the concrete. Where the ground should have been solid, it was dissolving into a shimmering grid of green code. Floating 8-bit squares rose from the gaps like bubbles in a carbonated drink. Emily reached out to touch one, but the inventor caught her wrist. "Careful, Emily," Dad warned, his expression grave. "That data is corrupted. We don't know what happens if you break the loop." Bingo suddenly let out a sharp, booming bark that echoed through the warehouse. She had discovered something tucked behind a stack of Space Invaders machines. A small, pixelated dog, composed of nothing but brown cubes and flickering light, was pacing in circles. Bingo tilted her head, her red eyepiece pulsing in rhythm with the glitchy creature. She took a playful step forward and nudged it with her nose, but her muzzle passed right through the digital dog as if it were made of colored smoke. Emily wandered toward a nearby screen that was flashing a violent, neon red. As she approached, the light didn't stay on the glass. It began to bleed out into the physical world, forming a solid wall of error messages that hovered in the air. She reached out and touched one of the floating letters. It felt freezing cold and vibrated against her fingertips like a swarm of angry bees. "It's like the game is trying to escape the cabinet," she whispered, her voice trembling. The inventor joined Bingo by the flickering dog, pulling a brass and glass device from his belt, a data tuner. As he pointed it at the 8-bit creature, the tuner began to hum a low, steady frequency. Bingo sat down beside him, her ears perked, and her red eye fixed on the beam of golden light emanating from the tool. "The logic loops are breaking down, girl," the inventor explained softly. "The reality of this place is becoming one giant, corrupted save file." Suddenly, a digital groan erupted from beneath Emily's feet. The floor transformed into a grid of glowing blue lines, and a massive section simply vanished, leaving a bottomless pit of scrolling code below. Emily stumbled, her boots sliding on the edge of the void. Before she could fall, Bingo lunged forward with surprising speed. The Newfoundland grabbed the hem of Emily's denim overalls in her teeth, her mechanical legs straining as she hauled the girl back to safety. The inventor rushed over, placing one hand on the side of the rust bucket to steady himself as the warehouse lights began to strobe. A massive, terrifying shadow stretched across the arcade cabinets. At the end of the long aisle, a giant, pixelated hand, composed of thousands of flickering, jagged cubes, emerged from the darkness. "Into the bus now," the inventor shouted over the rising cacophony of digital static. "The boss battle is starting, and we're the only players on the board."